I am James Bond. Not really. What is up, guys? Viper for Life here! I don't know why I did that. Anyway, we are driving the Aston Martin V12 Vanquish. The old one, not the new one. That one's in Horizon 2. And I've driven that one, and it's pretty good. How's this one? Well, put it this way. James Bond never took it to a track. Simple as that. No, that's not the reason. The reason is it's a Forza 4, and I can't take this. I really can't take this anywhere but the track. So yeah. Now, what do I think of the car? Well, I've driven it before, and it's fun to drive on the track, but there's a lot of body roll, the suspension's soft, and frankly, if you took this online, you would not be very competitive. I mean, of course you'd look like James Bond, but what's the point of taking it online unless you're just gonna have fun with it? But yeah. So, brakes are good, accelerate's good. Maybe not as well as the Ferrari in terms of handling. Just because of that body roll and the soft suspension. But the brakes feel better. They give you more confidence. Now, for this review to make sense, you have to watch the Ferrari review first. Because everything that I'm about to say, I said, well, mostly everything that I'm about to say, I said in the Ferrari review. So, if you're watching this first, pause, go watch the other video of the Ferrari. Because if you don't, everything I'm about to say now is not going to make sense until I explain it even more. But it would make even more sense if you watch the Ferrari video first. So, if you already have watched it, you know what I'm talking about. So, what is wrong with this picture? Just look around. What is wrong with this picture? I'll give you 1 minute to think. Okay, that's it. I'm telling you. I'm driving an Aston Martin on a track. That's the problem with it. That is the exact issue with it. I'm driving an Aston Martin on the track. Now you're probably wondering what's wrong with that. Think about the word Aston Martin. Think about what that means. Okay, now that you've thought about it, it means GT cars. It means that's all that Aston makes. What they especially make, is GT cars like this Aston I'm driving here. Comfortable? Fast? Well, maybe this isn't comfortable, but, you know, good enough. Comfortable? Fast? And good looking. Things that make a GT car, they have to be good at cruising when you want them to be a cruiser. A long-distance cruiser, that is. And exciting enough to get your adrenaline pumping when you want it to. Like driving it on a track. Or on a back road, or something like that. Or a mountain pass. That. Transfiguration Highway. Any Top Gear fan will know what I'm talking about. Although, I don't think you'd enjoy this car there. Now you're probably wondering why. The reason is, it's exciting and it would be good for that journey, even though it's old and doesn't really have a lot in the way of infotainment, but I'm talking about, you know, back when this car was new. You know, it'd be brilliant for it. The issue is, like I said, the suspension is soft and there's a lot of body roll. I mean, the steering's good. In fact, the steering's really good. Nice, responsive, feels nicely weighted. But it also feels like you can feel the weight of the car in the steering. That's what it feels like. And that's, you know, that's not so much of a bad thing, because it feels lighter through the steering than it does when going around a corner, if that makes sense. But anyway, back onto brand image. When you think Aston Martin, you think GT cars such as this, the DB9, the DBS, or DB9S. You know, that sort of thing. Now, some would argue the DBS is a sports car, or the DB9S. It's not, because the thing is, it's just a faster DB9. That's all it is. I'm not saying the DB9's, sorry, the DB9S is terribly comfortable, but it's just a faster DB9. That's what it is. You can't get away from the fact that's what it is. It's also just a DB... Oh, wait, I already said that. I'm sorry. But, you see, that's the thing. No matter how hard Aston try to make a sports car, they can't seem to get the recipe right. And then Gordon Ramsay has to come steaming over, all, beepy and whatnot, having to explain to them how they got the recipe wrong, and asking them why they just can't get it right for once. That's the issue. Because the thing is, it's how people see Aston Martin. They see them as a comfortable, fast, beautiful, long-distance cruiser, also known as Grand Tour, or as a Grand Tour, or road trip, whatever you want to call it. Okay, but that's how they see Aston Martin. They don't see Aston Martin as the exciting, blood-curdling, excitement that you get from a Ferrari. They see it as more of a gentleman's cruiser, if you will. That's what they see Aston Martin as. That's how Aston Martin is seen. And no matter how hard Aston try to make a proper sports car to compete with Ferrari, they just end up with a more dignified Jag. That's what they end up with. That's just what they end up with. You can't get away from the fact that's what they end up with. They try so hard to make a proper sports car, but it seems like even though they're trying to break their, their brand image, they don't even seem to know how to break their brand image themselves. Because what they end up with is this. A 20-year-old chassis used in 2015! That's what they end up with. This car is basically the same car as the new Aston Martin Vanquish, the Vantage, the DB9, the Rapide, or Rapid, as it's technically spelled, but not pronounced. That's what, those cars, their chassis, go all the way back to this. 20 years old. Or near enough, anyway. That's how old. That's what all those cars actually are. They're not new. They're just this car with new body panels, new interior, slightly re-engineered and slightly reworked engines. But their chassis can be brought all the way back, can be traced all the way back to this thing. 20-year-old chassis. No wonder they still feel like old gentlemen's racers, or not even gentlemen racers, just gentlemen cruisers. It's because of how old their chassis are. Now, I know a lot of people would be arguing with me right now, saying, oh, well, the Viper has a 20-year-old chassis. Yeah, but that's been extensively re-engineered, re-stiffened, redone. This, not really. It's still from the new cars, it's still pretty much the same chassis. And because of how they evolutionize Viper, how much they put their heart and soul into it, how much they change it, it may not feel like a new chassis, but the way it drives, they tame it, they make it better. Not saying that the Viper's tame. Oh, no! Not saying the Viper's tame. At all. But still, this feels pretty much like a looser 2015 Aston. That's the truth of it. And that's the thing. Aside from brand image, Aston don't even seem to know how to make a sports car, a proper one, like a Ferrari. Cow, even a Lamborghini Huracan or a Gallardo, and I'm sorry if I said that wrong, but that's how I pronounced it. It's one of those days that someone's going to tell you you're doing it wrong. It just is. Now, people would probably be saying, oh, well, Aston, sorry, I went the wrong way. Anyway, people will probably be saying right now, oh, well, James Bond drove it, so of course it's a sports car, it makes it awesome. No. If you remember that movie where James Bond, or, not Sean Connery, whatever that guy was, and Halle Berry were in it, okay? And that green Jag, that XK, I believe that's what it was called. When that came along, I was like, ooh, that's a proper sports car, that's hardcore. Well, hardcore for Jag, of course. But when I saw the Aston, I was like, it looks a bit tired compared to the Jag. It looks a bit like grandfather versus son. That's what it looks like. He may be old, but he still got a few tricks up his sleeve, but compared to the new guy, it's all down to the driver, really. But that's what it was like for me, watching that Jag go up against that Aston that James was driving. That's what it was like for me. It's just the Aston looked tired compared, and it wasn't even that old at the time, but it looked like a tried design. It looked tired compared to the new, young Jag. That's what it was like. Jag is the Aston wished they could be. But they still can't seem to get the recipe right, and Gordon Ramsay, frankly, is embarrassed to have Aston Martin in their kitchen of sports car making. Whereas Jag excels every time. Down even to brand image, people seem to see Aston Martin as a GT car maker, a Grand Tour, a cruiser, and Aston Martin don't even seem to know how to break that. No matter how hard they try, they just end up with a really fast GT car. That's what they end up with. They just don't seem to know how to get the recipe right. They may make good cars, but they don't know how to make good sports cars. Because they don't seem to know how to make sports cars in the first place. Now, yes, people will be arguing, well, have you seen the new, the DB11 or, the DB10 or whatever that new Aston's going to be called? That's under, quote, air quotations, Aston Martin, Mercedes management. Well, because Merck slightly bought out Aston Martin. They only bought a certain margin of it. Even then, I think that could help. But even then, that's not going to change. It may not at first glance change how people see Aston Martin. And frankly, it's all down to how it drives. If it drives like the Aston Martin, even on a newer chassis, in fact, a completely new chassis, if it still feels like a proper Aston, it's still going to be a GT car. Never mind if it can hang with sports cars, it may still be seen as a GT car. And that's down to brand image. This is a good car, but because of how Aston made it, it doesn't feel like it should be driven on a track. It's more of a this would work in Horizon 2. This car would work a lot better in Horizon 2. But it's not. It's in Forza 4, and it feels a bit out of place. Yes, it's a good car, but it's not exciting enough to be a good track car. It's not exciting enough to be a proper sports car. It's just a very dignified GT car. That's what it is. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. And I will see you all later.